Welcome to 10 more. This is the 10 additional minutes when we just have someone on that we just can't fit them within the 10 out of 10. So we've got to add 10 more minutes. I want to thank my sponsors, by the way, always. We appreciate them. But this is 10 more with Max Axler. He's the Chief Credit Officer with Synchrony. And Max, welcome back now for this second 10 minutes. And I really wanted to tie you down to your desk here because there's some really incredible insights that y'all have when it comes to what you're seeing in the data that you bring together. So let me ask you this: credit approval, a whole different ballgame now. You guys are utilizing something called Prism. Can you give me just like a real quick definition of that, and then we'll get off and running here on some deeper questions I have about how you utilize it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thanks for asking me to rejoin you. I take it as a compliment that I said something interesting enough to warrant it on 10 minutes. Yeah, so Synchrony Prism started in 2018, and the premise was more and better data, real time, could add context to what the consumer was trying to do and allow us to make a better underwriting decision. It really ended up disrupting how a traditional underwriting decision is made. So, for instance, at acquisition, instead of using 100 attributes that we were using inside 2018, we're using now up to 9,000 attributes on the credit side, not even including what we do from a fraud and identity resolution perspective. And so someone's gone from effectively a credit score to an array of facts. And by adding that color, we can make much better decisions.
Well, and there's a lot to unpack here. So when you say that, if it's not my credit score now, what are the things that me as a consumer need to be aware of that are now weighing in financial decisions that may be made not just with Synchrony, but with others? Because I tend to think that you guys are always on the sort of the leading edge of these kind of trends.
Yeah, and credit score is still very important, but it is supplemented in many different ways. We add alternative data to that decision, and so that encompasses, how people are paying utilities and rent, et cetera, payday lending type score. So, is payday lending, present on your bureau, your trade lines? It also encompasses how the consumer has interacted with us historically. We have 140 million trade lines. The company's been in business over 90 years. And so we have a lot of data on most eligible credit Americans. Most people that apply, 60% of the time, we've already underwritten before. They've already had an experience with us before. And so we can lean on how the person has historically performed on us. And so we don't need to be reliant on what the bureau is telling us.
So
Uh,
a couple things there. I got to pause
yeah,
there because man,
sure,
there's a lot
sure.
to this. So in my feeble vocabulary, so now we're talking about this is a real time picture, not
Yeah.
an historic picture. Is that fair?
Yeah, we have 6 seconds effectively to pull 9,000 points of data together and assess A, are you who you say you are? And B, are you creditworthy? And if so, how much line do we want to extend you? In some places, particularly in home and auto, um, we get from the retailer what they're asking for from a line standpoint. And so that's also added facts that can help us make a decision. We didn't even get to the fact that we also use our partner data. If you think about who our partners are, outside of the home network, it is Amazon, it is Walmart, it is PayPal, it is JCPenney, Sam's, Lowe's, the list goes on, 300,000 merchants. And so if we've never seen you and the merchant's never seen you and you don't have a strong affinity towards that merchant, well, it helps us make a decision about how much line we actually want to extend to you. And those people perform much different than someone that's got strong affinity towards a brand.
And let me ask you this one, Max. It seems to me, and once again, I'm just connecting some simple
Yeah.
dots here. It seems to me that if I don't have a traditionally good credit history, as we've seen with with a lot of people, this seems to me like this might be helpful to me because of taking in other factors. Is that true? Because if we're not solely on the credit score, and if I don't have a credit history as a young person, it seems to me like this might help me as the consumer maybe be able to be considered for financing options.
Absolutely. 100% correct. I mean, again, take financial inclusion incredibly seriously as a company. Again, I'm so excited that we are traditionally people's first credit card. It is a responsibility that is really important to us. But you're absolutely right. And what we've done over the last couple of years is try and further help consumers that are locked out of the financial ecosystem. I always say it's incredibly expensive to be poor in this country. If you're locked out of the financial ecosystem, you're thinking about things like payday lending, for instance. Average APR there is 400% interest. And so by looking at other factors, and again, what we've started over the last couple of years is cash flow lending. So even on the decline population online, so our digital declines, we now present an option for them to credentialize, consent, and give us access to their cash flow. And in that, we have seen tremendous and compelling data. People that have no score, so the Bureau's never seen them before, or damage credit,
Wow.
or low credit, or thin file credit. We have now approved over 100,000 new accounts, and they perform incredibly well. We started something along with OCC and a couple other issuers around Project Reach, which is a financial inclusion initiative led by the OCC, originating more than 100,000 accounts. Over 12 months, people that have never had credit were more than a 660 credit score. So they were prime plus. So now they were eligible for other credit cards, maybe auto loans, maybe student loans for the first time in their lives. So over 12 months, 50% of the population migrated past 660. So these people just need an opportunity to perform. Once they have that opportunity, they are performing at great rates.
I mean, this is a game changer, and I appreciate your the detail you're giving here. I don't want you to give away any company secrets, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm looking at this from the business standpoint. It means, okay, if it's my business, it means I'm able to maybe have a few more approvals than I would have based on the old system. But as the consumer too, I've now got the ability to open a few doors without the typical credit score, because I'm old school, man. I mean, we protect our credit score, but what I hear you kind of saying is there are holistic behaviors that maybe I need to be, if I'm the consumer, I need to be thinking about that are painting that overall picture. Is that fair to say? I mean, are there things that consumers should be aware of that now under this type of a system that they can, that they can exemplify, and that they can be, that they can do in their behaviors that will help their credit viability going forward?
Absolutely. Again, by extending kind of the aperture of the data you're included in making that decision, again, we've proven that it has allowed us to make a better decision, to supplement what the credit score is telling us. And so we absolutely think about, and consumers need to think about what they're doing and how that's presented on the Bureau. There's just some good, I think, consumer practices that consumers should step into. They should be checking their Bureau to make sure that it's accurate, obviously. But the best thing they can do, absent all the other data I was telling you about, is consistently make their payments on time and make more than the minimum payment. That is that will accelerate credit scores. And again, not everybody's been on the same journey as Synchrony's been on. Some people are still more reliant on a credit score than we are, and so that will supercharge people's scores.
And I mean, look, and this is all about getting ahead of the trends. I mean, this is not a commercial for Synchrony as much as
Yeah.
this is really talking about the fact that there's just this exponential increase in data points. You said 100 that you looked at in 2018. Now it's 9,000. Max, what's next? Where is this going, and how much more granular can it get? Do you think? And I know I'm asking you to kind of step out and get your crystal ball here, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we actually evaluate 20,000 attributes. We pare it down to nine. There is a little bit of diminishing returns, I'll say. But, from a credit standpoint, you're always looking at the fringe cases. I mean, that's where the risk lies. And so, one of the things that we saw through the pandemic, for instance, is our customers that we've underwritten before at every credit score perform better than a customer we've never seen. And that is incredibly telling because if we've underwritten you before, and again, 140 million trade lines, we've underwritten most Americans. If we compare that with what the partner knows about you, that is a really powerful combination in making a decision.
And you said 20,000 data points. You're bringing it down to nine. So this
Yeah.
is a growing science. Clearly, this is data science. Incredible. Are there any last, we've got about 30 seconds, any last, items you'd like to just put out there before we have to say goodbye?
Yeah, I think again, if we're speaking to consumers, I know there's a lot of people that take in this podcast. Again, and I'll speak directly to the consumers. I think stepping into, particularly for people that are kind of locked out of the financial ecosystem. And look, I think the numbers are really important. Even people that have good credit, I think they'll be turned down by a credit card company at disproportionate rates. Um, I think stepping into a relationship with people that you have really strong affinity towards. So if you're an Amazon Prime customer and you've been shopping there for 10 years, that is a logical place to apply for a credit card because they know you. And if the issuer is doing their homework, they're using that data to say, hey, I can afford to take a risk on this person because I know they have strong affinity towards this brand. And so I think there's many different things that a consumer can do to position themselves to enter the financial ecosystem, to be responsibly given credit and to use it appropriately so that they can step into larger types of loans ultimately as they build a family and financially mature.
And on the backside of that, obviously, this is this Prism. This is a product that's really for that retailer, for the business, and so they're more educated, and it's a much deeper data lake, if you will, that they get to swim in to make decisions for their business as well. Great stuff. Max Axler, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, Chief Credit Officer for Synchrony. This has been great stuff. We thank you for joining us on 10 More, as well as 10 out of 10. I'm Mark Schumacher. We will see you all next time.